Welcome in to Dynasty Trading Room. Today we are giving you 5 players that you need to sell right now in your Dynasty leagues before they fall off. Now we're 4 weeks into the NFL season, and some of these players are just being way overvalued. We have a range of players here, from guys that have got off to hot starts with touchdowns that are candidates for regression, as well as some players that have started a little slow, and I expect that to continue, if not get worse. Selling players before the bottom falls out on their value is one of the most important things you can do in Dynasty to make sure your team stays competitive. I'm going to kick it off here with the first player to sell, and that's Brian Thomas Jr. Now, BTJ was one of the darlings of last year's draft class. He looked absolutely great. Now, it does not make me happy to say that things are not going well at all this season. He's had a number of drops, a number of plays where he just seems to give up. And this last week, he had another play where he caught the ball so far away from the sideline and just no awareness to know where that sideline was and stepped out of bounds before getting that second foot down. He just doesn't seem like he's comfortable on the field right now for one reason or another. I'm starting to worry that this isn't 1 or 2 bad games, that we're seeing the real Brian Thomas, and last year was more of a flash than anything. If you've watched the Jaguars as much as I have this season, you know that this isn't just something to wash away. This is serious stuff with Brian Thomas. He's dropping a lot. His hands do not look good. And now he's not getting the same targets that he was early in the season as well. Over the first 2 weeks, he was at a 26% target share. These last 2 weeks, down to 18%. And note that is without Travis Hunter having a significant role in the offense yet. I still believe Hunter is a very good wide receiver, but it makes sense that a rookie is going to take some time to break out, first of all, and a rookie that's splitting their practice time between offense and defense. It's not all that surprising that Hunter isn't being a focal point of the offense yet, but it is worrying that Brian Thomas isn't taking advantage of that and putting up high target numbers. If Brian Thomas is losing the trust of Trevor Lawrence of the coaching staff early in the season, that's only going to get worse once it's Travis Hunter that is the alternative, not like Parker Washington or Diami Brown. And I'm not saying to just sell Brian Thomas for whatever you can get. I do think you can still get really good assets. People are still holding on to what they saw last year, and I think his value is quite a bit higher than it should be right now. I've seen some trades just today go Brian Thomas Jr. for Neighbors straight up. Now, I get Neighbors is injured, he's out for the year, but he is a much better talent than Brian Thomas, and he's consistently shown that in the NFL, and I expect that to be the case when he comes back next year. I've also seen Brian Thomas go for 2 2026 firsts. If you can get your hand on 2 firsts for Brian Thomas, especially if you're not in your contention window yet, then that is a great value, and you should go ahead and take that. My next player to sell is on the other side, someone who's had an amazing start to the 2025 season, and that is Emeka Egbuka. Now, this is going to be a common theme you'll see in sell candidates. Through 4 games, Egbuka has 4 touchdowns. He is not going to score 17 touchdowns this season. It's very unlikely. Touchdowns are not replicable the same way that other statistics are. It's something that often regresses back to the mean, and that's what we're expecting with Egbuka as well. Now, don't get me wrong, Egbuka is a very good player. I was very excited about him as a prospect. I really like what he's done in the NFL so far. He's also an older prospect. He isn't someone that was supposed to come in and take a lot of time. He was touted as a NFL-ready prospect, and that's what we've seen so far. So if you're seeing what he's done so far, and you regress those touchdowns back a bit, that's probably what we're going to get. Maybe there's some room for improvement, but I don't see this as some raw prospect that just has an insane ceiling. Now, if we look at some stats that transfer better than touchdowns, like receptions, he's only averaging 4.5 receptions a game. That's not elite numbers. Now, he's had some big plays, and that's really helped his fantasy output, but 4.5 receptions isn't what you're thinking when you're thinking these elite level players where Egbuka is currently being valued. Even this season, Mike Evans missing some time, Godwin's just getting back into it now. As those guys reintegrate into the offense, I think we could see Egbuka's role be more limited, and all it takes is a couple weeks where he only has those 2-3 catches with no touchdowns for his value to really get back to what it was before this crazy early season breakout. This happens all the time. People run away with their expectations after a few weeks of these rookies seeing what they could do. I get it. You want to be early on that Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, the next big breakout star, but I don't think that's Egbuka. I think he's more in that wide receiver 2 kind of discussion at the end of the season. Now, there are plenty of people who think that Egbuka is that next hot rookie that's going to be in the elite tier of wide receivers, and that's who you need to find to make a trade with right now. Some of the recent trades I've seen for Egbuka have been outright ridiculous. We've got 2 firsts, Devontae Adams and DJ Moore, all for Egbuka. We've got Marvin, a first for Egbuka, and just a second for Neighbors. Egbuka for 2 firsts, a second, and a third. There's just some insane packages out there that people are trading away to get their hands on Egbuka. You need to at least check around in your league and see if someone is that crazy about him. Third up on my list is very similar to Egbuka, another early breakout in 2025, and that's Quentin Johnston. Now, similar to Egbuka, he has 4 touchdowns so far this season, and it's just not something that's all that repeatable. We don't expect him to have 17 touchdowns over the course of the season. And QJ is not quite the red zone type of wide receiver scoring these touchdowns. A lot of his touchdowns are coming on these big fly routes, big, long developing routes down the field. That's something I don't really see the Chargers having as much of as we get through this season. Joe Alt just went down with an injury, and now missing both of your star tackles, Justin Herbert's just not going to have the same amount of time to get the ball downfield to QJ for those big touchdowns. We've also had Ladd McConkey get off to a really slow start, and that's not something I expect to continue all season. Now, I'm a little down on McConkey from where I was at the beginning of the year. I think he's going to struggle to get to where you wanted him to be, where expectations were at the beginning of the year, but he's still a very good receiver. He still looks really good on tape. He gets open a lot. He's great with the ball in his hands. So they're going to get him more involved in this offense as the season goes on, and that's going to take away somewhat from what QJ's had available to him. Now, I'm not saying this breakout is all fluff. It's not. There's some real improvement here from QJ. He plays a very good role in this offense that I think will continue. I just think the value is getting a little too high on him. People are starting to value him over Ladd outright. I don't think that's a good process at all. I think Ladd McConkey is still the wide receiver to have here. We're only 4 weeks into this season. We had a full season of data last year where QJ and Ladd played on the same team, and Ladd was the much better wide receiver. Some recent trades that I've seen in real Dynasty leagues go down are QJ for 2 2026 firsts, QJ for A.J. Brown straight up, QJ for a 2026 first, a 2028 first, and 2 2027 thirds. So there's some really good packages right now going out for QJ, and I don't think he's quite at that value yet. I'd say he's worth more than a late first at this point, but if you're getting into a pick that you think is mid to early first in 2026, I'm going to take that player over QJ. I just don't see him being the kind of target hog in this offense that he's going to need to be to hold that value. If you can get a random 2026 first and a second, that's the level where I'm starting to value QJ, where I'm willing to trade him. Now we're going to move over to a couple of running backs on this list as well. And first up is DeAndre Swift. Now, Swift has never been that efficient of a running back. He's always been occasional big play, but a lot of getting stopped at or behind the line. Now, the last 2 weeks for the Bears, he's been under 3 yards per carry. He's just been outright horrific efficiency-wise. That's brought him down to 3.3 yards per carry on the whole season. And at this point, it's just not looking like he's a fit in this Ben Johnson offense. The thing with Swift, though, is he's had enough volume that he is still obviously the RB1 for this team, or at least he has been so far this season. I'm not thinking that that's going to continue, but if others in your league do expect that, and there's definitely people in your league that are contending and they want someone that can come in and give them just any production at running back, it's so easy to lose depth at running back, and if someone lost like a James Conner earlier in the season, and they just need someone to fill in that RB2 role, Swift may be a guy that still has some dynasty value for you. The trend is also looking away from that workhorse role. That's why I'm worried about him heading into the middle of the season here. Week 1, he had 65% of the team's carries. That's a great number. The last 3 games, it's down to 48% of the team's carries, and we've seen rookie Kyle Monangai take over 21% of the team's carries over these last 3 weeks. So now the Bears are heading into a Week 5 bye with their top running back consistently getting less share of the offense and looking very bad in those opportunities he's getting. While Monangai has looked okay, he's shown some flashes. This is exactly the time when you have that extra week of practice to give your rookie an extended look and see what he can do as the starter. I will not be surprised if the touches are even or even slightly in Monangai's favor when they come back in Week 6. If you're still able to get a second rounder for Swift in your league, I say just go ahead and do it. If you are a contender and you need that running back production still, I'm still moving off Swift. I don't think over the second half of the season you can rely on him as a starter for you. So I'd say pair Swift with maybe a third and go tier up, or you might even be able to 1-for-1 trade him for like a Tony Pollard or a Jalen Warren, David Montgomery, these kind of guys that have more solid production over the rest of the season and into the future. I'd even be willing to go add a second and get up into that top tier of players. If you can go find someone panicking about Derrick Henry and looking for a rebuild, I'd throw Swift in a second out and see what happens. That's the kind of trade that managers are panic deciding on right now. Now, last up on my Dynasty sell list is a running back that is on a lot of buy lists right now, and I think that's the reason that I'm trending towards this sell side, and that is Trey Benson. Now, as soon as James Conner went down, everyone talked about Benson being the big league winner, the guy that you need in Dynasty. He's going to take over this backfield. He's going to take that James Conner role. Trey Benson is not James Conner. James Conner was highly trusted by this coaching staff, and he did everything to earn that trust. He was a great running back that just took whatever was given to him. He fought for yards. Trey Benson isn't as skilled of a back. He also doesn't have the same level of trust with this coaching staff, and it shows. He's not getting a workhorse workload. Amari DeMarcado is getting in there. They just signed Michael Carter again, who's done stints with the team previously. This is going to look more like a timeshare than I think a lot of people are expecting, and that's just for this year. If James Conner is pretty much done for his career, he's getting towards that age, and now a serious injury, maybe he doesn't come back or doesn't come back with the same level of playing ability, I could see the Cardinals going out and adding a difference maker in this draft. I don't think what we've seen from Trey Benson so far is enough for them to say, yes, we want you to take over the entirety of this backfield. Now, I think especially if you aren't a contender, then getting off Trey Benson right now is probably a good idea. Now that he's the starter, his value is up to probably the highest I think it's ever going to get. He's valued right around a late 2026, 2027 first. And if you can get any first rounder for him, I think you have to go ahead and do it. There's enough guys in this class that I would much rather have over Trey Benson that I think the value is just too good there, as a rebuilder at least. If you're a contender, I'd be looking to trade Benson for one of those guys I mentioned before, like a Warren, Montgomery, maybe even Pollard, and get some additional draft capital on top. Right now, everyone is saying to buy Trey Benson. I think it just pushed his value too high. We're not seeing the same thing on the field as we're expecting opportunity-wise. Those are my 5 sell candidates to get off your Dynasty team before their value plummets. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe, because at Dynasty Trading Room, we are going to bring you content all season long. We are getting you 2026 rookie content for you rebuilders. We're going to have you lots of trade targets to look out for as the season goes on and update you with the newest information.